Hello there and welcome to the channel. Today I'd like to do something completely different, and I'd like to talk about some other media, namely movies, that had a special place for me as I was growing up, and indeed still have a special place in my heart, even to this day. I could have chosen literally hundreds of movies that have made an impact in my life, but today I'm just choosing three. Just thought it'd be a fun thing to do. And yeah, I'd like to do a bit more really regarding movies that mean a lot to me. So I'm going to start anyway with the first three. And one of my first picks is going to be The House of Frankenstein. Now, as a young child, I absolutely fell in love with Universal classic monsters. I love them to this day. I love a lot of the feel the black and white cinematography gives, the Art Deco that is prevalent in a lot of the early films, and I do like the monster mashups. Now, this film was released in 1944, and I'm just looking at the liner notes here. So this involves a deranged scientist, surprise, surprise, called Gustav Niemann, which was played by Boris Karloff, and he escapes from prison. And he wants to get revenge, basically, on the burgomaster and other people, obviously, who got him incarcerated. Now, this film has Count Dracula, played by the wonderfully debonair John Carradine. Now, if I could have been one of the vampire characters, I would definitely pick John Carradine. He's just such a charmer, isn't he? A wonderful gentleman. And I think he just plays Dracula, in my own opinion, far better than Bela Lugosi. I like the film. He played the part well, but I've got to be honest, John Carradine was always the Dracula for me. So in this version, we've also got the Frankenstein monster, which is played this time by Glenn Strange. Couldn't get on with Glenn Strange, Frankenstein monster, and I think Lon Chaney Jr. also plays him in one of the other films. So to me, Boris Karloff will always be the Frankenstein monster. Anyway, we have the wonderful Lon Chaney Jr. playing the tortured Wolfman, Lawrence Talbot. And yeah, absolutely wonderful film. I love this one, House of Frankenstein. And as I say, I love the monster mashups. I don't know what it's like in the US, but I know that when I was probably 8, maybe even younger than that, my parents were quite liberal, and these were on British TV on BBC Two late at night, and my folks would allow me to watch them. And yeah, I fell in love with them really from an early age. So that's my first pick. Now then, my second pick is going to be from the sci-fi, I guess, golden era of sci-fi from the 50s, and it is the wonderful The Day the Earth Stood Still, with Michael Rennie, and of course his assistant, the robot Gort. Of course, this follows the landing of the spacecraft. Michael Rennie is captured. He has a message to mankind, of course, that if we don't stop shooting each other and blowing each other up and whatnot, obviously this message still applies today, then the Federation outside of our solar system deems that the Earth is basically too dangerous to carry on having a place in the universe, and I guess with destruction in mind. Anyway, The Day the Earth Stood Still, wonderful, wonderful film. Again, excuse me, I'm just looking at the liner notes on here. Now we all know this is the film, for those of us who are into the sci-fi genre, that brought about one of the first alien languages to be shared amongst sci-fi nerds, Klaatu Barada Nikto. What an absolute wonderful phrase. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I enjoy this. So, so of course it's 1951, this film. I watched the remake with Keanu Reeves, and I gotta say, I quite enjoyed it. But there's always going to be a special place for me for the original, the black and white, feature. Michael Rennie is just wonderful in it. Great acting. Yeah, the kid in there, also just brilliant. Very curious. It's just a wonderful film, really. It's just obviously it's got a start warning that we need to pull ourselves together and start working together in the world rather than be enemies. A message that really we could do with heeding today. But anyway, 1951's The Day the Earth Stood Still. A final film that I'm going to pick is from one of my all-time favourite directors, John Carpenter. Now, I could have picked any of these, really, and maybe I'll do that on the next one. But the one I've picked today has got a special memory for me. And the reason for that is that I was absolutely hungover when I first encountered this film. I must admit, I was absolutely ill. I lay on the sofa, completely hungover, absolutely rat-faced, as we say, or used to say over in the UK, from numerous pints of beer and whatnot. And I happened to turn on the TV with a sore head, and I saw the most wonderfully weird film. And it happened to be They Live, starring the late Rowdy Roddy Piper, the wrestler, and a wonderful performance by Keith David, of course, who went on to become the pastor in Greenleaf. This film is just brilliant. I mean, it's a social commentary, really. Effectively, our anti-hero ends up discovering some sunglasses that, upon wearing them, reveals that all is not what it seems. So he's walking down the street, for instance, looks at a magazine, looks up at the buildings. They have messages like obey, watch TV, or buy, everything like that, sort of everything to basically keep you hooked in the system. And there's a constant message of sleep being played through these antennae that are revolving around in the street with a little dish. So effectively brainwashing the human race into being people who just purchase, consume, obey, don't question anything, pretty much like today's society, I might add. So yeah, it was a wonderfully weird film. Really underrated, I think, and worth a watch if you get a chance. Yeah, it's just fantastic. I mean, it's got one of the longest fight scenes in cinema history, this has, between Keith David and John Nada, which basically means John Nada is basically standing for John Nobody, It's set in a time when there's a deep depression, recession economically. John is trying to find work, as is Keith David. They're in basically a homeless shelter, and the guys who run it are actually manufacturing these sunglasses, which enable people to see the truth about what's really going on. Something, again, as I say, is a social message, and perhaps we all need to see the truth a little bit more about what's really going on than being brainwashed by such nonsense as Love Island and all that rubbish. So, let's get our eyes opened a bit more. So yeah, if you want to see a great science fiction film that has got social commentary, makes you think, which is always good, then check this out. They Live, John Carpenter, superb director, superb filmmaker, wonderful visionary, great guy. They live. Anyway, thanks for those, putting up with those three brief summaries of those films that mean a lot to me. I do want to do more. Again, I always ask, you know, consider subscribing and liking. It helps me, helps the channel. And hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care now. See you. Bless you all.